Hi, welcome to my channel. There's a topic I wanted to talk about today. My channel is about gun dogs really and gun dog training. However, what I want to talk about today is it affects all dogs, and it's something that frightens the life out of me. It's the heat, basically. The reason I wanted to talk about it today is because in the UK we're having another heat wave. It's going to get worse as the weekend goes on, and I can't stand it, and I think all the dogs that I see suffer. And I just wanted to talk about some of the points regarding dogs and the hot weather. There's lots of things spoken about dogs. A friend of mine actually said something which I think was very poignant. She said, very telling. She said she's never seen a dog die of missing an occasional walk, exercise session. However, there are hundreds of dogs that die of heat stroke. And I often see lots of people around the town, middle of the day, middle of the afternoon, walking their dogs. And I just don't understand it. I will not take the dogs out if it's more than 22 degrees ambient temperature. That's my limit. And if you look at the Kennel Club, they would advise 20 degrees. But I use 22 as a marker. On the outside of my house, I have a slate thermometer screwed to the wall, and it's in direct sunlight. And that's something I think we lose sight of. That when we talk about ambient temperature of say 22 degrees, it's often a lot hotter than that in direct sunlight. The other week when we had the first heat wave of the year, I looked at the thermometer and they were saying the temperature outside was 35 degrees. The thermometer read 44, and I've had it checked for accuracy, and it is accurate. You cannot possibly expect a dog to walk or do any form of exercise in 44 degrees. Absolutely crazy. A dog can't take its coat and its hat off. It can't take a cool beer to cool down. It relies totally on us to look after it, to do those things, to cool it down and help it in those conditions. My idea is that you don't put a dog in those sort of circumstances. If you can avoid it, then avoid it. Warm cars are an absolute nightmare, as are conservatories in houses. A lot of houses have got conservatories, and I personally know of dogs that have died being shut in a conservatory. The glass in a car and the glass in a conservatory absolutely concentrates the heat coming into the house, into the car, and we still see dogs shut in cars. I'm going to go to the game fair at the end of this month, and I guarantee there'll be somebody leave a dog in a car. I intend taking one of my dogs. However, if the weather forecast is that it will be hotter than 22 degrees at any point during the day, I will leave them at home in the cool, in the shade. We need to help them as much as we possibly can, and there's lots of things we can do. Heat stroke can come on within minutes. A dog can only cool itself by, generally it's its paws and its tongue panting. Other than that, its coat is there for insulation, and it will lay on a cool floor. An older dog will look for cool areas, a cool stone floor, tiled floor, and in the shade. Younger dogs are not that bright. They don't realise, and all they want to do is play, and they will play until perhaps they've overdone it and it's too late. So we've got to be mindful of that. We've got to keep our eyes on our dogs and look for any signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So there are lots of things we can do. I think cooling mats are pretty good. A cold, wet towel for a dog to lay on. As I say, do not wrap your dog in a cold, wet towel. It actually keeps the heat in if you put that over its back. The sorts of areas to keep cool with water are its head, its neck, ears, its belly, its thighs, inner thighs, areas where there's not so thick a coat of hair. They're the sorts of things that we can do. There's another, well, in fact, I was going to say there's a little bit of contradiction on the internet. I've read a couple of vets' reports on shock, plunging a dog with heat stroke into cold water. One will argue that it doesn't cause shock, and the best thing to do for that dog is to get its body temperature down as quickly as possible. And yet this morning I read an article by another vet who was arguing that it does cause shock and you should just splash water on the dog. The advice is to get your dog to the vet as soon as possible. However, I'm a great believer in doing what's important first, what your priority is. And in my view, the priority is to get the body temperature down as quickly as possible. If you're in that situation, move it into the shade, move the dog into the shade, cool it down as quickly as you possibly can. Cold towels around the neck, cold towels around the head, just get the body temperature down. Scientifically, apparently, it is stated that cold towels around the head are the quickest way to get a dog's body temperature down. And to me, it makes sense. Then you consider getting it to the vet for treatment, emergency treatment. And you've got to do that even if you think you've got on top of the heat stroke, because heat stroke can have an effect for 2, 3, 4 days. So it's important that you do get a dog to a vet to look at your dog and actually consider what's going on with that animal. It's just a discussion, as I say. I'm not trying to tell people how to look after their dogs. It just worries me that despite all of the media and all of the things that we hear of that happen, all the horror stories we hear of, there are still people who seem to be completely unaware of what's best for their animal. The hottest part of the day in this country is no longer midday. It is usually between 3 and 5 in the afternoon. And they are, in my view, that's the period to avoid. Keep your dog in, keep it in the shade, keep it cool, and do the best for your animal. Okay, hope you got something out of this. Please, any comments, I'll be pleased to hear them. Keep watching. See you soon. Thanks. Bye.